All right, I do have a little short one. This is up here, Glenn, wherever you went. Here. Luke said something about questions for me, but nobody ever asked me questions. And it's fine with me. I don't know what you asked about fiction. It's, it's on there or on the page or not. There's a few things are germane, but not this. It's either on the, it moves or it doesn't. Okay, it rocks or not, whatever. This is one I've never ever read. It was the first one I already stumbling a little bit, but I've never read it, and I never have rehearsed a reading. I don't think that's any good. I never mind a few clubs that any readings I went to if I liked the stories. And but this one goes way back to the 70s. But I had never read it, and I thought I must have been saving it for something because I like it. And it's called Green Gitsits. It's from Airships. It came out in '78, which is, think of it, 31 years, my God. And let's see how times have changed, much or not. All right. Unable to swim, he maneuvered to fall off the old-timer's party yacht in the Hudson River. His departure was not remarked by the rebels. They motored on toward the Atlantic and he bobbed around the wash. He couldn't swim, but he did. He learned how. Before he knew it, he was making time and nearing the dock where a small Italian liner sat dead still, white, 3 stories high. Nobody was around when he pulled up on the stray rope on the wharf and walked erect to the street where cars were flashing. Day after tomorrow was his 70th birthday. Would have passed, he said. I've survived. Further, I'm horny and vindictive. The fire never stopped. Out of his wet billfold, he withdrew the sodden money and his government card, yellow, with his name on it. Quarrel screamed. His parents wanted to compensate for the last name, the fancy front one. Poor dogs of Alabama, 1900. Over here for dumb fornication, though, said Charles aloud, like all years. He never had a satisfactory carnal experience in his life. What about the letters I wrote? He said as he walked the concrete traffic. Did I bear the humiliation of surviving after them? Especially the one to Jill Jones. Won't she see it as the last feather on the tongue of boredom? Terry, hello, I'm not dead. Let's do it again. Walk around the nude doing house duties, cleaning, sweeping, cooking. Me trading in the wheelchair behind her, taking her fathom like grazing. I've seen better bodies, but hers is earnest. Scandalous enough. Pretending to be a crip some my lust would not disgust her from the room. Developed a real crush on her. At 40 a week for Wednesday. Ought to be allowed. Apologize for the crude sniffing episode, unfortunately, when I rolled in behind her, she was using the vacuum cleaner. Inadvertence of the wheel there, dear. She never heard the snorts for a vacuum. I burned to see her, but she lives in Yonkers. Dyed my hair up here and went over to Cello. You paid the cab with his wet money. What'd you do, fall in the river? Said the guy. Carl didn't answer. Carl was busy whispering. This letter would write to his daughter. Beloved daughter, thanks to you for being one of the few who never blamed me for your petty, cheerless, and malign personality. Well, perhaps you were too busy being awful to ever think of the cause. I hear you take self-defense classes now. Don't you understand nobody can take anything from you without leaving you richer? If I thought rape would change you, I'd hire a guy myself. I'll leave a few dollars to your husband. Bother him about them and suffer the curse of this old paradise flying blind at the minnows and the Hudson. Your dad, crab food. At the Y, he found his suitcase and left for LaGuardia on a bicycle. Once out into the real mainway traffic, he heard an outraged automobile blowing at him. Let no policeman interfere, he pleaded. This is New York's last chance at me. He passed the toll at the bridge without even looking their way. There was a shout. Kill me, he thought. He shouted, entering. Went up into the wine of the Triborough Bridge. Shit, I've overpedaled. Where's LaGuardia anyway? He cursed himself. He remembered turning around mid-bridge. He made back and passed the toll-keepers, shouting imprecations. His bike came in near 30 miles an hour over the last hump of the bridge. There wasn't much traffic now. He extinguished the lights. Why didn't I ever drink or smoke? I killed 2 men who did when I was intercepting hooch. I never had any bad habits. My body keeps on. I think I'm getting stronger. I've got a third wind. He turned back to LaGuardia. This is such small tooling. I rode the first mass-produced motorcycle in America. Because of my lust habit, I can't afford even a city Honda. $160 a month to trail Jill around in my pony wheelchair. Roll the wheelchair 50 per. If I get back to Memphis, I can afford something. We've all got to live. My car was full of prime confiscated foods. It was summer in the Ozarks. I got her drunk and possessed her on the pine needles. She went hysterical and wouldn't put her clothes back on without promise of marriage. After I married her, she seldom took them off again. Tonight she slept in overalls. Belted cold weather coat. I stared at ceilings all over America and practiced self-abuse, thinking there was a government camera on the wall and hurling myself on the sacred bed of my snoring matrimony. Afraid of God. Through that morning I crawled out over the top towel of her lady shampoo, full of flint-colored hair. I gazed at my palms with terror, thinking the air of the old stories was true. Later in the day, she cooked 3 hot meals, wildly neutral as to taste. She told me she thought a blessed event was coming to us. How? When? I was dismayed by the holiness of my union. I got a glimpse of her ankle and climbed up on the wood roof, weeping. When I came down, I didn't care anymore. I wore the purple smoking jacket I bought for our honeymoon, stored away when she said it was snaking. She said something I said. I had lime-scented oil in my hair. So, you don't even have natural needs, poured myself a near beer. All you care about is moving chairs and pictures. Room to room. Between me and a bucket of paint at the front porch, you choose the paint, we both know it. Me and God hate me. She felt a spout. She cried out how she could be a full wife. Let's go all the way, said I. Anything to please you and the Lord, said she. Soon afterward, I had to blast a moon stealer who locked himself in a boot shack. But he was underground and we didn't know it when we set it afire. I heard the voice calling me. He knew me. It was just outside Mobile in my home grounds, and they knew I was with the Volstead people. Calling me, Charles, Charles. I ran up to the door, and there was Weaver Baxter's oldest son, standing at the window with his clothes on fire and a double-barrel 8-gauge in his hand, right on me, cocky. I had to blast him. I hit him right in the hair. The guys kept calling him Justice Moonsteller. Well, I knew better, and I was sick at heart. Oh, she really got interested in me when I was sick. That's when she comes alive. Going around cold towels and cold mud porridge. Excuse me. She got off the recipe of her aunt, who was even a colder warp than her, although honest, the aunt never married. When I got well, we were in Arizona holding down the corn beer production on the Apache Reservation. It suited me. I didn't want to be near Mobile again. And on the reservation there was a drunk Indian I shot, almost 70 years old. He claimed he'd been under old Geronimo, who died in all 12 or so. Nobody had a gun when the old guy run up corn to the eyes. 5 of us agents sitting around a firelight about strange vegetation we'd been among. For 15 minutes, we heard him yell he's going to kill us with this bow and arrow he had on him. We tried to kid it off him, but he kept stomping around and aiming. I wasn't scared, but the senior was, and he told me to get the heater out of the car. It was a Tommy gun. When I got back, the old Indian was stamping on their feet and spitting on them, making sounds like Volta, Volta, over and over. He took their hats off and threw them in the fire. When he saw me come up with a gun, he smiled like a coot. Well, old guy, he had surprising white teeth, even though all the rest of them were filthy. But him was filthy. Then he took the arrow back and shot me square in the solar plexus with it, the crazy idiot. This filthy arrow was in me. It felt like right in my heart. I looked over and all the agents were so juiced on corn beer they just thought it was still a fun house, but I needed help. So I shot about a quarter of the Tommy into him, and he backed up 10 yards and fell flat. I didn't want to die alone. I sobered them up quick before I fainted. Luckily, I had a big chest when I was young, and the bone was hanging in there a half inch from the fables, said the doctor. The old Indian never bothered my sleep much. I think he wanted it bad. Like me now, said Quarles on his bike. He saw the lights of LaGuardia. I'm going to make it. Again, Daddy. I ride this bicycle and all the other one I got, he thought. The drive-in barbecue in Mobile, my chance to go down again. My wife had left me to join Billy Graham's World Crusade as a choir member. I never even knew she could sing before Graham came to Chicago. Graham came to town and she did a voice audition for the choir. They put her in the first rank of sopranos. Tokyo, Stockholm, The Hague, Glasgow, Dallas, and even New York. I saw her in my telescope at Shea Stadium. It weighs about 200, but a mouth big as a heart. Thank old NASA, I don't have to run those rapids anymore, said Quarles Green. I used to play my little pieces on the cello to heat her up. She'd fall asleep. If only I'd married a good pagan woman, said Green in the wind of the entrance to LaGuardia. No lie, said louder. you would have done the same. You would have killed the same two. Terry's clean at least. I was in the new FBI of America. I had my card. Three of us were in the drive-in barbecue lot in Mobile. Somebody recognized me as the killer of Weaver Batson's son. They started calling out at me when I was eating my ribs, which is a large part of why I took another Mobile assignment. The ribs at Boudreaux's pit. Some of the waiters used bicycles. I didn't know they paid the Negro to come over and say these things to me. Pardon me, is your name Turd? What? I said, is your name Mr. Turd? He's saying turd. Certainly is, I said to the boy on the bicycle. I'm Mr. Turd. How did you find me? He was a pretty mulatto boy, looked very wise. I just found you, Mr. Turd, said he. He fell back to the rear of the blockhouse where the cooking was. I put the silencer attachment on my pistol. It was the first mass-produced silencer to come out. I told them we had to follow the boy home. He knew things about me. It was easy. He left at 1 in the morning on his bicycle, struck out toward the west end, across the tracks. We drove behind as if looking at the bay. His bike was lit up front and back, and you could see him like a new dime on black cloth. We got in the houses and stopped at a vacant lot where an old house was pulled over. Somebody came out of the boards and man's clothes, but you could tell it was a girl. She hugged him while he was standing astraddle the bike. He went by like an idle lost car, and I saw the girl was white. She was a plain white girl, no beauty about her, but she was passionate. She was all over it. Next time we passed, I got out of the car. Hey, I'm that Mr. guy you talked to, remember? Yes, sir. What are you doing, boy? Begging on your hands and knees for bad news? Don't you know anything about Mobile's miscegenation law? It's what? No black on white. But you with the Federals. You killed Weaver Batson's boy. You know everything. Is that why you're sweet on him? Because he knows everything? I said. But the girl never uttered a sound. One of the agents told me to get back in the car. I told him, shut up, I wasn't any hothead. Thing was, I was mortified, confused, and jealous. Would nobody else have you to high school, I said to her. Standing astraddle his bike, the boy chopped me right in the jaw. I had the gun, and he saw it, and he still chopped me. I was seeing through a hot orange mist. At least I had the presence of mind not to kill him. Only shot him in the thigh. You could hear the rush of a whisper from the silence, and I was immediately repentant. Let's get you to the hospital, son, said I. He was still astride the bike. I ain't going to no hospital you take me to, he said. He said, if you come sit behind, fell off my bad leg, I'll do the other one for the good one. She sat on the rear fender, and they went off in the damn most bizarre juxtaposition you ever saw, similar to a circus tent, but not for fun. This was loyalty, romance, brothers. I know he was leaving blood up the road, but you wouldn't see it at night. The bike was wobbling all over the place, but they're going ahead. And since then, I have been a worm. I left the South for 10 years, then got my quarters in Memphis. There was some man, that boy. I wouldn't touch Mobile again with a 300-mile pole. Coral Stream made LaGuardia and waited a cold 6 hours from the plane to Memphis. He was a miracle of patience. He read nothing, hardly changed position, smoked nothing, watched no pay TV, wet his underwear imperceptibly. Reynolds will be the only one in Memphis who might be alive that will remember me from the old days, he thought. Reynolds, who's had 30 names in his time on 3 continents. I did my bit in a second. Ordered the Nazi Czar of Fort Worth and his 15 rifles. When the plane was in the air, he asked for the headphones. The stewardess passed him. She was a big, leggy blonde girl, a superlative quite at ease in his jumbo jet. She was his eye troubled out. Quarles Green felt the last big pang. He wanted to take up habitation in her, such as a baby kangaroo. A terrific fist bashed him directly on the heart. He smiled at her with his headphones on, snapping his fingers. Catchy, he said, pointing at the phones. Groovy, for your generation. She winked and passed by. He sat there a while and died. The stewardess wanted to know that Jimmy, old white-haired boy, was grooving on. She lifted up her own pair in her dressing room, because nothing was coming over them. It was only a howling like waves and storm of particles. When she was out of the room, she saw Dana and asked her. The whole system screwed up by lightning or something. None of it headphones are good, said Dana. The stewardess walked back to look at Quarles Green. He had a tight, smug smile on him, his eyes closed, like every dead man who finally hears his tune. Thanks so much for coming out. I told Liz that I'm not feeling that good tonight, and whatever visiting we got to do, can we put it off? Because I'm just going to slip home, if you don't mind. I know you're ready to go. You got better things to do. Thanks for listening, and you're a joy. And best of the season.